Hey everybody, it's the Red Viking Princess, and I'm here with another story, another totally true story. And while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and click the subscription button, so subscribe, and ding the little bell so that you actually know when I have more stories to tell you. Again, these are not made up, these are actually totally true stories. So if you have not heard the story about my Bigfoot encounter, please go back and go ahead and watch that. It's a pretty unusual one because it actually happened in my home, and I saw Bigfoot at the end of the bed. And no, I wasn't seeing things, I wasn't on anything. My husband actually saw Bigfoot at the same time. So there you go. So this is actually another Bigfoot story. This is probably the one story that isn't totally from me. This did not happen directly to me, but it actually happened to my best friend. So I have firsthand knowledge of this story. Very unusual story, and here's the funny thing. It happened right around the same time that I had my Bigfoot encounter towards the end of my bed, which is what I was just telling you about. But the strange thing is I had no contact with my best friend for a while, and this was during that time, so I didn't know anything about that. And actually he knew nothing about my encounter either, so it's kind of a weird situation. But years later we were talking about this, and obviously we both realized we had encounters kind of around the same time. So this is kind of what happened, totally weird encounter with him. So what happened was, he ended up getting a phone call one evening, and it was from a group of his friends. So they were just like really upset, screaming. It sounded crazy, this kind of a thing. Well, what was happening was they were trying to get him out to a remote site where they were. And this is kind of in an area where there's a lot of strange things that happen. It's around the area where there's a lot of witches that supposedly live. A lot of people have seen weird things, UFOs, strange sightings, things like that. Anyway, these guys were out in this area. It's kind of like a wash area. And they were kind of hanging out, probably partying a little bit or something like that. And they were trying to actually conjure up something. That's never a good idea. Never. But anyway, what they conjured up was a Bigfoot. So this thing came at them, and actually it didn't really touch any of them, but it caused one of them not to be able to speak. So it actually paralyzed his vocal cords. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, he was just too afraid. When you get really scared, sometimes you can't talk. That wasn't it. And I'll explain a little bit further why I'm saying that. So he was actually paralyzed as far as speaking. He could not speak at all, and everybody was panicking because this Bigfoot was coming at them. So they had called my friend to come out because they knew he was a God man. He is really close to God, and so they knew that they needed him because they couldn't do anything. Everything that they tried, failed. So anyway, he came out there. Sure enough, he saw this thing. He was a Bigfoot, and it was absolutely terrorizing this whole group of guys. And definitely, he said this one guy could not speak. So in the name of Jesus, he did kind of the same thing that I did, and he basically banished him in the name of Jesus, and the Bigfoot was gone. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy could speak. So it wasn't that he was just afraid. It was actually a spiritual thing. And remember, they conjured this thing up. This is probably the first time I've ever heard about that. And I've watched so many Bigfoot encounter videos, so many firsthand accounts. I have never heard of that before. So this is very unusual. But again, think about what I said. He did exactly the same thing that I did. And this Bigfoot was in my house. Okay, and immediately he disappeared. Same thing with my friend. So I believe that they shapeshift and they just go into another dimension. And I also believe that this area, the area where this happened, is kind of in a portal area. Like there's a lot of strange things that people see in this area, so that would not be uncommon as far as just seeing all, you know, different things like UFOs, Bigfoot, and having these, you know, witches around and all of this. It's kind of a spiritually active place. So that's my Bigfoot encounter story, and I will have many more stories to come. Trust me, I have volumes and volumes of things that have happened to me, and again, that's probably the only one that I will tell you that didn't directly happen to me, but it was very similar to what I experienced too, so I thought it was something that I wanted to share with you. So have a great day, and Skol Vikings.